All right, everybody. Welcome to another version, whatever you want to call it, of Real Talk with me. Today we're talking to Lenora Colarusso. It's going to be an awesome talk. I can't wait to hear more about her. Um, just a, just she is just such a kind-hearted person, beautiful heart, beautiful soul. I can't wait to get her on. So, going to be a good time. We'll get some. Once she comes in, we'll get her on and start talking. So, in the meantime, how is everyone? Welcome back to some of you that were on TikTok live with me. All right, and Lenora, just go ahead and tap the button. Come on live.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good.
Turn this up a little bit.
No filter. Oh, shoot. Anyway, hold on.
You
Let me just
you
get situated here.
you look great.
I'm trying out this light that I got.
Is it working?
I don't know. Do you see me? See
It's
me
it's
okay,
hard.
right?
Yeah, it's hard on my end just because the comments kind of cover up a little bit, but I can see you.
Now, I tend to turn this way just because of the ear I hear out of, so
That's okay.
that's why.
So, how's it going?
Okay, I just finished recording a podcast with a gentleman who has Asperger's, who wants to cut the stigma of Asperger's, being
Right.
on the spectrum. So it was
Yeah.
really nice. It was good. Good.
Yeah. So
How are you?
tell, I'm doing great, and I, it's only getting better from here. I mean, at this point, I just had that video on empathy. The
Mhm.
That one's it's almost up to 200,000 views at this point. It just
Well,
passed 50,000 likes on TikTok. So
mhm.
I'm I can't keep up with the comments anymore.
Awesome. Very
But
good. Empathy is what's
it's
going
hit
on.
it's hitting people. It's hitting people. This
Hmm.
this all of this is just coming together at the right time, and it's making an impact on people, which is awesome.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
let's talk about you, because a lot of people, if they really haven't dug into like my link tree, haven't really seen you, right? Because I've had a lot of new people come and join me on Instagram, on TikTok, on all of it, um, since you and I talked on your podcast. So I want to open up the floor to you. You tell people whatever it is that you want to tell us. Like I'd recommend, tell us about your podcast. Tell us about what you do in general, what it is. Like I would love to hear your story overall, like everything. Whatever you want to tell us, you please by all means tell us.
Okay. Well, I'm an RN registered nurse, holistic health coach, and I am a mother of five and a grandmother of two. And my whole my whole world revolves around helping others in achieving total health and wellness in mind, body, and heart in all areas. And that is my mission now. It wasn't, I can't say my whole life has been centered around wellness in some way, even when I wasn't well, if that makes sense.
Yep.
From as early as I can remember, because my dad was the handball champion of the world and he was the Golden Glove champion. And, I came from a family of 11 kids. And in order to be noticed and recognized, I excelled in athletics, just
Right.
like anything a guy could do, I could do better or just as
Yep.
well. I always tried to prove myself in that way and be accepted by my dad. If we were away or something, and which wasn't often, he'd bang pots and pans at 6 o'clock in the morning. You're gonna sleep your life away, and you guys are too young to know this, but Jack LaLanne, he was a huge guru in health and wellness. He was one of the guys who first started the whole health and wellness movement. And my father looked just like him and acted just like him. And the older people like me will know who he is. But, you know, I did whatever he did. I ran, I did pull-ups, I did push-ups, whatever. But it worked out really well now because I'm strong and healthy and all of that. But it was hard. It was a burden because it was like, she's the athlete. You know how you label, you know, don't ever do that, people, with your children, is label them as something. You know, she's the cook, she's the smart one. It's very hard to live up to that. So, yeah, so I've always been into health and wellness. My story starts always struggling in my life. I'll tell my story, and I apologize to anybody on here who has heard my story before. I've been on a few podcasts. I've done my own podcast with telling my story. I do have a podcast named It's a New Dawn. Dylan was on, and it was beautiful. And my mission now with that, in the beginning, a year ago, was about solely health and wellness. And then once I got on TikTok and COVID happened, I had stopped doing the podcast probably about 9 months ago. And then I started doing one with Marty B, Good Vibe Show. And I was on as an RN holistic health coach. I think I was on about 6 times. And it just sparked my whole interest in doing a podcast again. So when I revved it up again, I'm doing everything myself. It is probably not the best quality, but I really don't care. And I know you follow Gary Vee, and Gary Vee is an inspirational speaker, although I don't think he likes to be called that, or a motivational speaker. He's huge. And I'd have him in my ears doing the podcast every morning, like, just do it, you got to do it. And I'm like, I'm just going to do it.
Yep.
So I am. And now my focus is just whoever. My hashtag is time to tell your story. And the other hashtag is every story is important. So my goal is, people have been reaching out to me from every which way, and I feel really honored in doing it. My light just went out.
we can
this
still
is
see
real
you.
life, you guys. Can you see me? Oh,
Yes.
my God. Hold on. This is real life, people.
Oh, I love it.
How is that?
That's
Oh
good.
my God, it happens. I just bought this light. Anyway,
Why
I
do we
apologize, but you
why do
guys
we
can
always
see.
have trouble
Oh
with
my
lights with
God.
us?
I know. And you're all
Does that
bright and cheery and happy,
isn't that
whatever.
this is
So,
what this happened when you and I did the podcast?
yep. I apologize. And I went out and bought this light. It was like all this money, but whatever. Anyway, so
I'm
my
sorry.
podcast is time to tell your story, and hashtag every story is important, just because every story is important. I've had people write me and say, well, this, this is it, but I know it's not that great, quote unquote great. And I'm like, there's no great in any story. It's your story. It's who made you who you are, right?
Right. Yeah.
So through all my, can I curse?
You do whatever you want.
Okay. Through all
I
my
say fuck all the
shit,
time.
I told you, my parents called me truck
Yes.
driver. Through all my shit, I'm spiritual, but I curse a shit ton. Anyway, through all my crap, it definitely, you hear it all the time. It brought you to where you are today. It definitely did. If I didn't go through all of my stuff, I wouldn't have the empathy that I do. I wouldn't care like I do,
Right.
So anyway, people reaching out to me to do the podcast. It's not scripted. You see my personality. It's pretty much like this. We kind of just, I introduce that person for as much as I know that person, which
Right.
really isn't, I don't really know that other person. And then I kind of switch the camera over to them. And then the conversation kind of just flows. And there are questions that just weave in, from whatever that person is saying. So far, knock on wood, it's been really comfortable. And I have been getting really good feedback from people. And I think that it's making a difference in people's lives. And In my heart,
I
that
I'm
feels
yeah,
really, really good to put my head on the pillow at night and know that I'm
yeah,
doing even a tiny bit for people.
right.
So that's a little bit about me now.
Yeah.
So I don't know if
And
you
I
want me to
think
go in.
I I mean we absolutely can. I think, wherever you want to take this is where we can go. I think I love you.
Okay.
I love having you on here because you are like when you talk about, this is me, though this is my energy, like I love that. Like when we've had conversations outside of this, like it is always a joy to talk to you.
Thank you.
And you are here because I think you're going to provide people that are watching this later on, because I'm going to put this on YouTube tomorrow. Um, you're going to provide something to people. And if you have, like, your story is important, and if you have something in your story that you think people can take from and learn from, I would love it if you give it to people right now and show them that they can survive whatever it is that you've survived. They can survive it
Mhm.
because you, a mother of five, right? You did not, at one point, I can almost guarantee you, you did not think you were going to get to where you are now, having five children and the two grandchildren
Mhm.
that that you that you have now, right? Like it's the same thing for me. Like I didn't think I was ever going to get to this point of being married with a beautiful son, a home, all of this stuff. Just never thought I was going to have it, and here I am.
Right.
Like we are we are one and the same. We are people that have faced the fires of hell and have come out of it. And if you have a story to tell, if you have something, a message to give to people, I would love nothing more than to hear it.
Thank you. We are more alike than we are different. That's the
That's
first
true.
thing that popped up. And I know I didn't say that. I don't know who said it, but it is true. And every day it comes closer to that, believing that for sure we are more alike than we are different.
It's true.
Well, it all started, I always think of that. You're probably too young to know this. The Jerk with
I
Steve
thought, yeah,
Martin. Oh, come
too
on.
young, too
He
young.
starts off, well, I grew up.
Lenora, I was born in 1990.
I don't really care. I love my age. I really don't care. Kay had said something. I put that dance on TikTok with the Rapper's Delight. Oh my God, I love Rapper's Delight. And I'm dancing to that. And she goes, I said the year was 1979. She goes, I just want to tell you, I was born, hate to tell you, I was born in 1979. I'm like, I don't care. I love my age. That's okay. That's all right. Fine. I feel better today than I ever felt ever. Anyway, so to get serious here, you guys, I'm really happy because I can laugh about this. I'm truly, truly happy and fulfilled, and just it's a beautiful life. It is,
Yeah.
and it's possible. So I came when I was 2 years old. I developed spinal meningitis, which now they have vaccines for, but back then it was deadly, deadly. 107 to 9 degrees. I was in the hospital for 3 weeks. It did not afflict any of my other 10 siblings. I have 10 siblings,
Hmm.
nine because my brother committed suicide, and we will get to that.
Yep.
But I was in a hospital fetal position, and the doctors basically told my parents that it did not look good. And I distinctly remember this, and my mother confirmed it, that they I was in a crib, and the day they told my parents it did not look good, they were walking out of the hospital, and the crib was in this like window in the hospital, and they would always look back at that window just to see any movement or anything like that. Well, the day that they told my parents that, they looked back, and I'm jumping up and down in my crib. And they go running back into the hospital. And I remember this. I thought I was nuts. And I was two.
Yeah.
So I remembered it. So the residual effects from the spinal meningitis is that I had issues that bacteria affected my valves in my heart, which really sucks because I am a fitness trainer, and there are certain things that I'm very conscious of my body and how to treat it, but there's nothing I can do about that. I can't make it better or anything. And I lost hearing out of my right ear. Um, so that was the residual effects of that. After that, just to keep in mind, my mom never drove. My mom didn't have her license. My mom, all she did was cook, clean, do laundry, iron clothes. That's what you did. That's what you did back then. She had
Right.
11 children. So,
Right.
needless to say, I got nothing from my mom. And just an FYI, I forgive. I forgive my parents
Yeah.
for everything. And for me, it is freeing. I am not going to say to your audience, you have to forgive in order to feel peace, because that puts a lot of pressure on people. And
Yeah.
some people are just not ready.
Right.
So when you're ready, you can forgive. But if you're never ready, then don't let it stress you out. I can't emphasize that enough because it's true. So I chose to forgive. My mom never read to me. There just was no time. I never went shopping. I never did anything like that. I never was played with. So when I had my children, I honestly did not know how to play. I didn't know how to let go. I didn't know how to be free. I didn't know how to be carefree. You know what I'm saying? So I was alone in a house full of 10 people.
Hmm.
I don't know if that makes sense, but I
Yep.
did always share a room with at least 1 to 3 siblings. So I never had my space. Um, it was a very lonely time. Plus, I couldn't hear. My hearing was affected, and that was never addressed. And I also couldn't see. My eyesight was really bad, and it was just never addressed. So I always sat in the back of a classroom. I never got myself involved in any of the school things. Um, it was a very lonely time. In the interim, there, my brother was in Vietnam. My oldest sibling was in Vietnam, and there's a big age difference between him and I. And during the times of probably 5 to 9, he was back and forth. He was honorably discharged finally with psychiatric issues, and later to find out he was affected by Agent Orange and also trauma from war and also schizophrenia. So my brother was, for 1 second, sweet, like sweet, let's go look at Christmas decorations around the neighborhood, to throwing me against the wall, through just yelling, throwing chairs. My parents were terrified. We were all terrified. If his car was in the driveway, we'd come home from our school, get off the bus. If we saw his red Cadillac in the driveway, we'd all make a beeline into this closet that we had. It was a big closet, and we'd like, oh my God, when is a good time for us to come out? So my life was, I was in constant state of fight or flight. I was always expecting the lion to come out and grab me, and it was not a good way to live. Um, and this is all before the age of 9. I was terrified. And then at 9 years old, my brother had tried to commit suicide 3 times. The brother was in Vietnam. For some reason, and I've wrote about this. I started a book and I wrote about it. For some reason, I was always around, and as I'm writing, I'm thinking to myself, where the heck was all my siblings? Like, what is going on here? And what I came to was the conclusion that I always wanted that attention from my mom. So wherever my mom was, I was called the leech, because I constantly was trying to get that affection. So hugging, grabbing her
Yeah.
leg, she's cooking sauce and she's getting off and like, get away, Lenora, come on, I'm trying to make sauce, always having dinner. We had this big lazy Susan my dad built with a big round table. And my mom, that's what we did. We cooked, she cooked, did her thing. My dad was always away because he was in all his handball tournaments, and he wasn't home, a lot. So the third time my brother tried to, well, the second time he tried he was an altar boy before he went to war. And my mom showed me the letters, and he would write, what kind of God would do this? what kind of God would allow this fighting, this war, this trauma, this killing, and reading them. Sorry.
No, it's fine.
No,
It's tough.
no, I got through a podcast recently and it's fine. Sorry. Anyway. So he's in a lot of pain, So he took a cross and he went like down his body with a cross. And that was the second time he tried, did not succeed. Came back from the hospital. I don't know how long between that one and the third time. Third time, I was, the TV was my friend. So I would sit in front of the TV like this. I had hair down past my butt, and I'd sit on my hair, and I'd be like this real close to the TV because I couldn't see and I couldn't hear. So there was a show called, for the older people out there, Zoom. And I was watching Zoom. I remember like it was yesterday. I was 9 years old. And my other brother comes running upstairs crying and calling 911. I'm going, what's going on? And I go running downstairs, and my mom is sobbing. My brother killed himself. Behind my brother, we had a gym, like a garage, like a bench, and my brother was bench pressing. And my brother Joey killed himself in back of my brother with a knife while he was bench pressing. And my brother came running up, and I was down by my mother. They were wheeling him out on the gurney and said, get away. He's going to be all right. He's going to be all right. I knew he wasn't all right. I knew that was it. And what I wrote in this book that I was writing was this sense of guilt because I was kind of happy. I was relieved. There was this breath of, like, I didn't have to deal with this trauma in my house, this being scared all the time, this anxiety, this fear, this immense fear,
right,
all the time. And it was hard because I had to feel sadness because he was my brother. He was my blood.
right.
But I could feel this relief, just like, whew. So that was when I was 9. My mother wore black clothes for as long as I could remember, and it was her oldest child, firstborn. So at that time, a priest came into, well, he was already a part of our family. He was a friend of our family. We were Roman Catholic, and my mom was very giving, and my mom would have him over for dinner, Sunday dinner, nothing abnormal. But he made himself a fixture in our house after my brother died to console our family. And I was named the leech, like I told you. And he walked in, and I would hang from his neck. I was 9, but I'm only 5 feet tall. And I was tiny, I was like, and I'd hang from him and feel like, so loved, and everything. And he knew my mom's ways. He knew my mom would say, God's going to punish you. That's what we did back then. That's what we did. If I did something, if I hit my sister, God's going to punish you. God's going to punish you. Well, Father Benedetto, and I'll say it on here because I have come forward since then. And it's been out on every jersey, everything, paper and all of that. He gravitated towards me because I wanted and craved that attention, and I trusted him. And for 3 years, he sexually abused me in my home. And it's unheard of. And for those listening and looking, and they may seem like, oh my God, where were your parents? I forgive my parents. My mom was actually on the other end of the couch reading a lady's journal. And I wrote about this. We had a blanket. And I wrote about, oh no, not the blanket. He would put the blanket over us. And my dad would be asleep in his recliner on the other side with his hands like this. My father was exhausted. He owned a body shop, worked every day, and went to sleep. Father, the priest would put me to bed. He would give me baths. Wasn't even thought of. Wasn't even thought of. Write me love letters. Tell me I was special. Told me that if I said anything, God would punish me. 9 to almost 12. I say 11, but it was almost 12. So needless to say, my whole world changed.
Yeah.
My body was just a piece of whatever. What is love? What is it? I honestly did not know what love was, probably until I was 50. And I'm almost 56. Took away my whole innocence, but back then you never said anything. You don't say, we didn't even speak about my brother's death. The way we talked about death was that the answer was, oh, he was in Vietnam. How silly does that sound? Like, how did your brother die? Oh, he was in Vietnam. Like, nobody ever went further than that. We didn't talk about it. We were supposed to be that family up on the hill, that family of 11 who sits and has dinner together. That perfect family, right? So for 3 years, that's what happened. That's what happened. Never said anything. At 16, I was in so much pain. I was in so much pain. My whole life, I was alone. I was weird because I was trying to cover up. I'm still weird, but in a good way. But I
The
was
best
trying
way.
to cover up that pain. That pain. I was trying to hide this immense hurt in my body, my whole soul, my whole being. So at 16, I learned, I found out how to throw up. At first, it was anorexia, and I refused to eat because I had power over food, and I had no power over my body. So between that time, though, I was also abused by my first boyfriend, who was 15. I was 15, and he was a coke addict. I say boyfriend, but he ended up raping me also at 15 at his house on a coke rage. And he took pride in, I don't know if I could say this, but I'm sorry if this offends anybody, but breaking my cherry. And I went running out of the house, take me home. He had a Camaro. I remember it like it was yesterday. And at that point, it just validated more. This is all I'm good for. This is all I'm good for. I started dating my husband at 16. He's my husband now. And just because he was more like I want to say a father figure, even though he's only a couple years older than me, but he made me feel safe, even though I always had issues sexually with him. He had a lot of patience with me to this day. But he took a lot of shit. He took a lot of shit. During that time also, my brothers had friends sleep over, and we would all sleep in the living room, and I just let the boys do whatever, because here I am. Here I am. I'm a piece of shit. Right? So for 6 long years, I wanted control over what I was putting in my body, but the food ended up controlling me. At first, it was anorexia. I lost an immense amount of weight, and I would wear baggy clothes. My parents didn't even really notice until my period stopped, and then I got nervous. So I had told my mom, and my mom brought me to the doctor. And back then, when I took off my clothes, the doctor's only response was, "You got to make this girl eat. Got to make her eat." So my dad was very abrupt, pulling me, you got to eat. You're sitting down, you're going to eat. And then I learned how to throw up from somebody in high school. Somebody taught me. And that was it. So I have ruined my teeth. I have no enamel on my teeth. My gums are really bad. I would throw up until I saw blood. I tried to commit suicide many times during that 6 years because of the pain. Oh, God.
It's okay.
I'm sorry. Sometimes I can get through this without. Sorry.
You do not need to apologize for this. You are a fucking warrior, and I hope you see that. You take any moment you need.
During that time, nobody knew that I was killing myself with throwing up. I throw up 4 to 5 times a day. I'd hide in the cabana. We had a cabana till my mom left with my brother to go food shopping, and I knew exactly how long it would take because my brother had to take her, and we had a huge family, so I knew how long, and I would just shove as much as I could in my mouth and fill this void and throw up and throw up and throw up. I throw up in the alleys. I throw up at people's houses. I would just get rid of this pain. I did not like this feeling, like of being full. I had to be empty. And I was rushed to the hospital, unbeknownst to anybody. Why? It was because I had issues with my heart from my spinal meningitis. And the electrolytes were all off balance from throwing up so much that I would have issues with my heart. And I'd go to the hospital, and go back home and never told a soul. During this time, I had a car accident when I was 19. I had a major car accident. That was my third brush with death. So spinal meningitis, my bulimia, and then I was a passenger, and I hit my head on the side frame of the car. I don't remember this, but I had a fractured skull and a facial nerve crushed from the skull from being hit. And I was rushed to JFK Hospital in New Jersey. I don't remember this. And I was in ICU 3 days. And the first thing I remember coming to was, how am I going to throw up? That was the first thing I remember. Meanwhile, my father knew some important people, and the doctor was not doing anything. So they got me rushed over to Mount Sinai in New York. The doctor operated me on right away. And what they had to do was relieve this facial nerve. The bone from my hearing was crushing the facial nerve. They had to remove the bone. They shaved my head, cut a hole in the back of my skull. There's a nice hole there. And took out the bone to relieve the pressure. And then I went for a year of rehab to move my face again. So I move at about 85%. There's still paralysis on this side, but I totally lost all my hearing in this year.
Mm-hmm.
So I had hearing loss from spinal meningitis, and I was totally deaf in this year. But I did not know what was going on in the hospital. Nobody was telling me. All they were saying was, twitch your nose, wrinkle your forehead, smile. And I'm like, why are they asking me this? Why are they asking? And I have a turban around my head from them shaving my head. So the day I was leaving, my boyfriend, who's my husband, I said, I want to look in a mirror. What is going on? And at 19 years old, looking in a mirror and finding your face not moving, and you have to wear these big ass glasses, can't wear contacts, because when your facial nerve is damaged, you don't have saliva, you don't have tears, you can't move, you know. When you I tried to eat like chicken back then, and you could, I mean, there's no saliva for the enzymes to start or the digestive process. So for a year I went back to New York, back and forth, to try to move my face again, and I was able to figure out how to throw up. So I continued throwing up, and then I got married at 21 to get out of the house with the guy that I'm with now, and he knows I did not marry for the right reasons. I just wanted to get out of my, and I wanted to have babies right away because I needed something.
Mm-hmm.
I needed love.
Yeah.
I needed to nurture because I didn't get that.
Right.
Finding out that I couldn't have babies. I had an issue. If anybody's in the medical field will understand this. I have one ovary and one tube on opposite sides. So I went to an infertility specialist, and back then they operated on you. Now they wouldn't do that. They would do a laparoscope. But I was in the hospital for about a week to figure out what the heck's going on. And the doctor leaning over me said, it'll be a miracle if you get pregnant, but miracles happen. So the reason I wanted to get pregnant also was to save me from this bulimia. I just could not stop.
Mm-hmm.
I just could not stop. And it was a secret. I was holding the abuse. The abuse was tucked away for now. But now the bulimia was tucked away. And I was just one big secret walking around. Just one big lie. Right? So after that, that was horrible news. But of course I didn't use anything because it was like, I'm not going to get pregnant. Well, I ended up getting pregnant. And then I ended up getting pregnant again 6 months later. And then within 8 years, I had 5 kids, which are a freaking miracle.
Right.
Unbelievable miracle. I breastfed them all because I knew that when I was breastfeeding or pregnant, there's no way I was going to throw up. And I did a TikTok about this, that my kids absolutely saved my life because I stopped throwing up the day I found out I was pregnant. And maybe I know it wasn't the right reason to have children, but they are my everything.
Yeah.
They are my everything. So after my third baby, I was about 30, I guess my early 30s, and everything came to a head. All my memories of my abuse, I don't know what triggered it. I don't know. I can't tell you what. I ended up coming forward then. Told my husband everything. It was such a hard thing for him. To this day, he doesn't know full details because it's just too hard to hear. But I ended up going to the Archdiocese, and he came with me, and it was past the statute of limitations. I did go to police station. It was past the statute of limitations. There was nothing that they can do. But what the Archdiocese did was they took him out of the priesthood, and they gave me therapy. So I didn't ask for anything. I didn't ask for, anything. But they gave me therapy. And this is where we talked about the support and how it can make or break you and how important it is to have that support system and your community and people that are on your side. And there's always hope, So I found the right person. And it may take a while for you to find that right person, as it did for me. It did. I had to develop that connection.
Yep.
And I went to her for, 12 years. I don't even know. But during that time, I was always into health and wellness. So I finally got healthier into the health and wellness realm. And I figured out how to put the connection with nutrition and my anxiety and my suicidal thoughts. Because believe me, I was close to suicide. Even after all my kids were born, I have a shirt that says the world's okayest mom, because I kind of sucked, Dylan. I kind of sucked. But it's
It's not
okay.
your fault though.
I know it's not. It kind of,
Yeah.
I did suck. I did the best I could
Yes, you
with
did.
what I had,
You're damn right you did.
but I really didn't have much. I didn't have the education. I
Nobody
didn't
taught you
have,
how.
you know what I mean? I didn't have,
You didn't have an example.
right, right. My example was what I
Right.
had, which sucked.
Yeah.
um,
It is what it is.
just, just an FYI though, my parents are good people. My father has passed away from Alzheimer's. My mom is still alive and she is 93. And she's a good person. When I came forward to my mom and my dad, this is what hurt too, but I
Yeah.
understand it. My mom was devastated. I told her, and she's like, I gave him all the money from the funeral. I gave him this golden chalice, and oh my God, what did he do? And blah, blah, blah. And couldn't tell her the details. My dad never said a word. My dad turned around, never said a word. We never spoke about it. But Dylan, you have to kind of put yourself in
Right.
your parents' place. And my dad came from a very abusive household, and my dad was hurt himself. So I was able to forgive. Um, but it just really hurt at that time and for many, many years after that.
Of course.
And I was really so overprotective of my kids, so overprotected. No one was going to harm my children as long as I can breathe. I have 4 boys and a baby girl. She's 23. She's my baby, but always
Yeah.
be my baby. But I never left those kids, only with my mom and only with Dawn, who's the name of my
Okay.
business, who's passed away from cancer. And that's why my business is named It's a New Dawn. But I would leave them with her because she was like my sister,
Mm-hmm.
full and full, through and through. But I waited until they were old enough to get a babysitter so they could tell me. And I would always talk to them. If anybody ever touched you inappropriately or did anything to make you feel uncomfortable, please, you always come to me, leaving the lines of communication open, always, so important,
Mm-hmm.
but very overprotective of them. And then, so I did come forward. It did give me a little bit of peace that I guess he was out of the priesthood, but took a lot of years of
Mm-hmm.
work. And at 40, I got a letter saying that he was trying to get reinstated back into the priesthood and that I was the only one who could come and get him out and not allow it. So I had to go back to the archdiocese at 45 years later. And it was the first time I got a new car in my life ever. For my 40th birthday, I got a Volvo from my husband. We drove together to go to the archdiocese, and I'm shaking and I'm
Right.
nervous, and I have to sit and tell them the whole story again. And when I leave there, of course, I'm so distraught, and I get in a major car accident. And my car, thank God, I went through a stop sign, and a car barreled into where my husband was sitting. And thank the Lord that I had my Volvo. But the car, they never claimed it as total, but it was like 6 months in a shop. It was ridiculous. But the first thing I thought was, he still has a grip on me. He still has power over me, and so hard. So putting that connection on, I know we only have a certain amount of time here, and I want to have your audience know the work I've been doing. as far as putting the connection of nutrition. It may not sound like a lot, but I've had severe PTSD, severe anxiety, severe rocking on the side of a tub, not knowing if I was going to kill myself, not knowing, I, I was in a mental health facility for a weekend. I am admitting that. I did not have a grasp. And I was a threat to myself. And I am a nurse. So, if you're a threat to yourself or somebody else, that's where you go. So I looked up food. I want to say it's 15 years now, to ward off Alzheimer's, because I've been hit in the head and I had spinal meningitis, and my father died of Alzheimer's, but at the time he had dementia.
Yep.
And I'm like, I'm not going to do this. This is not going to happen. And I found coconut oil, and I found good fats that nourish your brain, and your brain is 60% fat. So I've always been into food, although, I may not have ate it healthy or whatever, but I started researching, get certified in nutrition counseling, nourishing my body through the food. And to this day, my husband knows when I can go maybe 3 days without the food that nourishes me. And then I start to get the anxiety and the depression and, not being able to think straight. So having high energy food is don't underestimate it. It's so extremely important. Good fats, if you can handle it, so extremely important. And I won't, if you want to know more, they can always get in contact with me.
Absolutely.
At that time, my husband had given me a gift of a spiritual advisor. I was always into Deepak Chopra. I don't know if your audience knows of Deepak Chopra. He's one of the biggest spiritual gurus going.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
And many, many, many books. And he sent me on a retreat. I think it was my 39th birthday. And I got introduced to meditation, and I took to it like that. And at the time, we had cassettes. I don't know if you know what a cassette is, but at the time I was driving this big purple conversion van to fit all 5 children. So I had them all within 8 years, right? So I would take them to karate or football, and I'd sit in the van and pop in this cassette. And I'm an all or nothing person. I'm trying to be more middle there, but I'm like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to be the meditation expert. And I took to it. And I practice just like anything else. It's a practice and it's a habit. And I would pop this cassette in, and it was 20 minutes. And I'd sit in my big old conversion van and close my eyes. And then he would ring a bell after 20 minutes. And to this day, I have my mantra. I do my meditation, and being in touch with my thoughts and being able to be more conscious from that meditation in the real world. So before I go crazy, or before I say the wrong words, or before I eat the food that may not be the best for my body, I am conscious of whatever I'm doing. So it's an accumulative process. So whether your meditation is sitting there cross-legged the way many people picture it, or it is taking a walk in nature, or it is playing golf, or it is in yin or restorative yoga, like I want to talk about, that is a form of meditation. That is a form of introspection. That is a form of getting in touch with your body and what is actually going on with your body. We are so disconnected from our bodies, especially people that have been sexually abused.
Yes.
My body was not even a part of me. It was here. Take it. I don't even know what it is.
There's no ownership of it.
No relationship. So it is your temple. It is everything. So from meditation, keeping up on my fitness credits, I'm a personal trainer, and every year I go to Baltimore to keep up on my credits. And one class, it was Hatha yoga. And I'm like, you know what? I want to get into this yoga. So that was 40 years old. I'm almost 56. So it's almost 16 years now. So the first yoga I was introduced to was Hatha, and that's just like a moving yoga. And again, I took to it. I took to the asanas or poses, and that connection to the mat, to the earth, feeling grounded, introspection. And so the two modalities, the yoga and the meditation and the nutrition also, wow, I'm on my road. I'm on the way. I'm on the way. My whole, everything started changing. My emotional status, my physical body, my mind, my body, my heart, my love, my empathy, my everything started changing, right? Then I've always exercised, in bad times and good times, I've always found time to exercise. And it was more ego based along with yoga, and that evolved. But so the physical aspect has never been a problem for me. I've always found time to do that. So that gives me my strength, and that lets me get rid of whatever pent up, whatever I have. And it feels good to be strong. So that's part of the equation also. But that's why I practice the type of yoga I just want to talk about briefly here, the yin and the restorative that I talked to you about, and in hopes of helping others with PTSD and trauma. These types of yoga are actually going to bring your nervous system down rather than the other yang type yoga, which is fine. Don't get me wrong. Moving yoga is fine. That brings up your nervous system a little bit, or it could bring it up a lot, but in a good way, and it's okay. But I find that people who have had trauma in their life, anxiety, their nervous system is always in fight or flight. So my job and what my mission is teaching people on how to bring down the nervous system. If you look around, people are like on their phones, they're walking with their phones, they're doing something, always something. We are in that constant state of fight or flight, and it will catch up to us in one way or another, emotionally or physically, in some way, it will. So my mission is to teach the yin, or the calming aspect of yoga, and that is through yin and through restorative yoga. And if anybody wants to find out more about that, they're more than welcome to get in touch with me also. I wanted to work with you with that. We can do that. But that's part of my road to recovery was I was practicing all the active yoga plus my physical exercise in the gym. And for people who understand energy, yin and yang, they are never separated. They are always intertwined, but we can be more dominant in one than the other. And I have found most people are more dominant in the fiery yang energy. So with working out in the gym, that energy was up here. My walking, my running, my everything that I do. So I had to find a way to bring it down. And that's why I am on a mission to educate on this other side of yoga, the restorative and the yin. So actually restorative is actually the art of doing nothing. Which is crazy for some, especially type A people, where there's no outside distractions. There's no music. It's warm, quiet, dark, still, and safe. Those are the elements. And in that environment, there's nowhere else for the nervous system to go but down.
Yep.
Right? So then you have that introspection, and you're able to be in touch with what the body is doing. The sensations of your breath, we end up, a lot of us just breathe from up here, and that brings us into a state of fight or flight also. So we learn how to breathe a little bit deeper and all of that. So that is part of the equation too. So all of these things, good water, good sleep, good community, a good support system, my food, my yoga, my meditation, and all that has brought me to where I am today, and why I am so passionate. I hope that makes sense to everybody now. Why I'm so passionate on bringing this goodness to everybody else. In that time, I became a nurse. I wanted to do more. And I didn't graduate nursing school till 2011. I waited till my kids were a little bit older, and I went back to school to try to do better, to try to bring more to people. And so I graduated in 2011. I had all the help I needed for my hearing disability. It was
Mhm.
really, really, really hard, but I did it, and really proud of that. And
Should be.
just want to help others. I just want to help others. That is my mission. So my title is a RN holistic health coach. And before COVID, as you can see, I live in a cabin on 17 acres in New Jersey. And before COVID, I had people coming to me individually, one-on-one, doing personal training, doing Reiki. I'm a Reiki master, and nutritional counseling, and yoga classes in my little yoga studio made with a lot of the trees from my property for the good energy and what have you. And now I had to switch things up with COVID, and I joined TikTok and built up a tiny little platform. And that's why my hashtag is time to tell your story, and hashtag every story is important. So that's what I am doing now. And if you guys have any questions, you can ask me. I'm open book. So
Absolutely. I love hearing all of that. The fact that you're willing to express all of that, and I will say that there's about 3.5 minutes before this ends. Um, you, like I said it within the live, but you are a fucking warrior. Like
thank
I
you.
don't, I I hope you take that to heart, because you have a spirit that cannot die. Like
Thank you.
that kind of tenacity, and I guess like I don't even have the words to explain what kind of person you are, but you are, I mean, the stubbornness to stay alive and keep going sometimes is all that is necessary to get through all of it. And it doesn't feel like, the difference between knowing and feeling is you felt like you wanted to die, but you had to keep going. And there's the children that you gave life to are just a testament to how incredible you are. I mean, you gave 5 miracles from
Yep.
a life of such adversity, such incredibly difficult adversity, and I really think if people watch this back on YouTube tomorrow, like there are some people that are going to be impacted by what you said today, and that is inspirational.
Thank you.
And I
Even just one person. I say just, but one
I think
person is, you know,
I
good.
think you're going to impact a lot of people,
Thank you. Thank
and
you.
I love it. I am so grateful that you and I found each other, and we've been able to have these conversations. I'm I'm speechless to hear the things that you've been through, and I'm proud of you
I love you.
for being here. I love it.
Thank you. Thank you.
But
You too,
um
Dylan, right?
of
We're
course
more
we
alike than we are different,
right,
everybody.
very
It's
much
true.
so. And
Hmm.
we've got about a minute and 20 seconds or so. Just tell people where they can find you. Tell people about your like what your podcast is called, your website. I know you can get it on your link tree. Just the last minute is
I
yours.
don't have a link tree. I do not, but
Okay.
and I actually don't even have my links or anything in front of me. But let me see. Oh wait. Yes, it's dawnandj.com. That's my
There you go.
website. And once they go onto there, they'll find all my links to the podcast, to YouTube,
Yeah.
the Roar Bar I always talk about. They can email me at it's a new dawn number 4 letter u at gmail.com. And anybody have any questions? Please, anybody. I am an open book, and you can
Absolutely.
reach out to me for anything. I love you guys. I love you all. I do. I love
Awesome.
people.
I know you do. It's great. It's beautiful.
Mm.
All right. So last 20 seconds. I just want to thank whoever came in and watched this. I know this is going to be put on YouTube tomorrow. So whoever watches this on YouTube and you get all the way to the end, Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Please get in touch
everyone. Thank
with,
you.
absolutely, please get in touch with Lenora. I love you guys. Have a great day, Lenora. Thanks for being on.
Too.